Hey everybody, Jim and Scott here at San Diego Comic-Con. We just got out of the Marvel Studios panel. We saw some very exciting, very cool stuff. But let's start with what came at the end of the panel first, which was a major news announcement. Joss Whedon took the stage and announced the title of Avengers 2, and it is...
Age of Ultron.
Yes, Avengers: Age of Ultron, which is surprising because it's a relatively recent comic book storyline. But real quick, tell us the gist of who Ultron is.
Ultron is a robot. He's a classic villain for the Avengers. He was created by Hank Pym, I believe, who is Ant-Man. So we're thinking maybe we'll get Ant-Man in this movie as well. And as to how it ties into the actual Age of Ultron story, we'll see.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to cull a little bit from a lot of different storylines. And then the other really big, cool reveal at the Marvel Studios panel, no, it wasn't any Phase 3 announcements.
But that kind of didn't matter in a way. But
it didn't matter because
it was so cool.
It was all so cool. Yeah. But they showed us a nice sizzle reel from Guardians of the Galaxy. And they showed us not only that, they brought out the entire cast who flew in from London just for the panel and got back on a plane. It's like a 13-hour flight or whatever. And so they all showed up, and they showed us basically what the tone of the movie would be. It's got kind of a Galaxy Quest kind of vibe. It's a space comedy. Tell us about now. Did we hear Groot or Rocket Raccoon talk?
We did not hear we did not hear any voices, so we don't know who's playing Groot or Rocket Raccoon. But we did see them, and we saw them in action. They're all CG, of course.
Yeah.
And they were great. They looked just like Groot, the giant tree, and Raccoon, the little kick-ass
And they were
raccoon.
revealed in sort of this Usual Suspects style police lineup with John C. Reilly's character Roman Day basically giving you a rundown of who all these outlaws are.
Yeah.
And, it was a very funny bit. And, Drax the Destroyer, Dave Bautista, and Zoe Saldana's character, Gamora, are both in practical makeup effects,
full
green
green
skin,
makeup,
all that.
Yeah, and they look, I mean, again, they nailed the practical effects. It is the characters. And to see them at the very end of the bit lined up like that, it was like, that's the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and that 70s song Hooked on a Feeling was playing over it. So it gave you, it's a very kind of tongue-in-cheek vibe to the whole thing. And Chris Pratt is great. He brings that sort of Downey-esque sort of glibness to the role of Peter Quill, Star-Lord.
Yeah. But in outer space.
Yeah. Now, we also saw some footage from Thor the Dark World and Captain America the Winter Soldier. Let's talk about Thor. Now, the coolest part of the Thor sequence, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's going to get out there. Can you trust Loki? Thor goes to him for his help against Malekith the Accursed. Well, it looks like Loki, surprise,
can't be trusted.
But it looked like at the very end, he cut off Thor's hand. It cut to black right before the blade came down, but it really looked like he essentially took Thor's hammer hand away from him.
As the hammer was flying towards him, right?
Right.
And I think you heard Thor scream, too. So,
so it looks...
it's a Jamie Lannister situation, as you said earlier.
Game of Thrones reference, which the director worked on Game of Thrones.
That's right,
and, of course, we saw a battle in Asgard at the beginning where Thor, the Warriors 3, and Sif were fighting the Dark Elves in this big kind of rock monster that looked like a callback to the first Thor appearance.
We would think it's from Journey into Mystery 83,
like his
first Thor comic appearance.
And it was a really cool funny little bit, too, and Thor's cockiness, and then they take Jane Foster, a reversal of the fish out of the water of the first movie. They take her up to Asgard, and she gets to actually smack Loki in the face at one point.
And Loki likes it.
Loki thinks she's really cool. He's like, I like her.
Asgard looks bigger now, too, don't you think? Like, it looks more epic.
It definitely, you get a sense that people actually live here, that this is a real civilization. Yeah. Now, let's get to Captain America, the Winter Soldier. They brought out most of the cast for that, except for Robert Redford, kind of a bummer. But they did show sequences with Redford where he's basically telling Cap, this is a different world we're in now. It's not black and white like it was for you in World War II. And you either have to accept that or, and then we see what the or else is.
Yeah.
Give the folks a gist of what that opening scene was that we saw. Very cool.
Cap's just in the elevator at SHIELD headquarters, I guess.
In his outfit with the shield on his back.
And then he's noticing these agents are all getting on the elevator, just going about their business. But he's he's Cap, so this is one guy sweating, another guy keeps kind of touching his holster, and he sort of says
his gun is in the holster.
And eventually the elevator is filled with all these big agents, and he's like, if anyone wants to get off now, this is your chance. And then he proceeds to kick all their asses.
Because
basically.
it's clear they're there, and Frank Grillo, who plays Crossbones, is in the elevator too. And he basically, it's like they're there to subdue Cap.
For some reason, SHIELD is attacking Cap.
SHIELD, apparently Cap is not on board with sort of the morally gray areas of SHIELD's doings, and we're going to see how that plays out. But the very last, the tag shot of the Captain America sizzle reel was...
Oh, yeah, we see the Winter Soldier picking up Cap's shield.
Yeah, you just see the metal hand reaching the frame.
Hand,
and then you see the shield just kind of stuck in the ground. And this was our only shot of Winter Soldier in there. And it was an incredibly cool sequence and showed this sort of the edginess, the sort of the paranoia, the political thriller aspect of it in the action. So overall, the Marvel Studios panel was a huge success. The crowd loved it. The talent were great. So we can't wait to see more of Thor: The Dark World, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, definitely Guardians of the Galaxy, and of course we're going to have to wait a couple of years for Avengers: Age of Ultron.
But now we know it's Avengers: Age of Ultron.
And so we can speculate away.
Now I know what I'm doing for the next 2 years.
Right, exactly. And you should just keep your eyes locked here to IGN for all your Marvel Studios movies news.